Okay, so let's make a start. So what can you expect from this morning's webinar? So the first thing is I'd like you to all perhaps stop and have a little ponder about how you're doing things in your business. I'll share the results with you later if that's okay with regards to the poll. And also to remember that there are different ways of doing email marketing, and you're all recipients of email marketing. And I'd like to just perhaps give you some tools, some knowledge, and maybe think that you could do things differently to create more effective campaigns for yourselves or for those that you're working with, depending if you're in a marketing role or so on. The webinar will last about 45 minutes, and you'll have a chance afterwards to ask some questions. I'll do my best to answer any questions during the webinar. If you want to put your hand up and just type me a quick question, I'll see what I can do to make sure I can answer all your questions. So we're going to talk a little bit about marketing in a broader sense. We're going to deal with email design and content. We're also going to talk about some of our experiences, which perhaps we can share with you, where perhaps that can help in terms of falling into any pitfalls. And also we'll touch on some of the technical issues surrounding email marketing. Before we start talking specifically about email marketing, I just want to take a step back. Email marketing is a marketing channel, and if you think about it, marketing is about you having services and products and you wanting to communicate or sell those services and products to your marketplace, to the people out there in the big wide world. And it really is, marketing really is as simple as that. And just like any other forms of marketing, doing it right, getting it right, and making it effective is what's going to determine whether it's successful or not. So I just wanted to really remember that there's an old marketing acronym that I've been using for a long, long time, and it is very much that you have to attract somebody's attention, you have to create some desire, some interest, and I can't make my screen work. There we are. And you then have to give some call to action. So AIDA, attention, interest, desire, and action. And I guess what I'm asking you to do is to look at anything that you do in terms of email marketing, or in fact any marketing channel, and have a little think. Does what we're doing create that attention, interest, desire, and action? Now, one of my favorite examples of this is a poster site that's been around for probably more than 3 or 4 years now. This poster is certainly 3 years old. And it does exactly that, as in, if you're a glasses wearer like I am, it's got a picture of a boy and a girl in it, attractive photograph, it's got a simple proposition, and then it tells you what to do, in this case, Specsavers. And it's interesting that Specsavers are still running these kinds of posters today. They've dumped the should have gone to Specsavers line, just has the logo there. Now, in any marketing message, in any form of communication where you're trying to promote your services, your products, or you're trying to build a brand, it really revolves around that simple marketing acronym, and it applies to email marketing in the same way as it does to any other form of marketing. This is another one I bumped into a couple of days ago outside a cooperative supermarket. Buy one, get two free. Now, I understand that we're not all selling cheese or glasses, but fundamentally it remains the same, that you have to stay in front of people in a way that they like and with an attractive proposition. It's really pretty simple. So, email marketing. So what's so great about email marketing? Well, sorry, just touching back to that, you have to give people what they want. So what's so great about email marketing? For a start, it's affordable. It's something that a lot of companies, a lot of people do themselves, and certainly that's true of you guys as well. A number of you are doing your own email marketing. It's targetable, and I've done this one in orange for a good reason. I'll come back to that in a short while. In fact, on the next slide, it's measurable, so you can actually see how effective your activities are. It's a direct response. You send an email out, you get a response to it. It's pretty simple. It's also flexible because you can change your message and determining on your marketplace and so on. It's good for building relationships if you get it right. And I think there's a kind of caveat here is you have to do these things right in a way that's not going to upset people on the journey. And it's a good way to open doors. And a number of our clients use us specifically for the reason of getting in front of more people, fishing in a bigger pond. Now, I'm just going to come back to the whole thing around targetable, which I've done in orange here for a good reason. when we work with a new client, we always look at what we call their landscape, because in any marketing communication strategy, you have to recognize that you have customers, people that have dealt with you before, depending on your business. You've got people you've never dealt with before, cold customers or cold prospects, as we call them, people that you've never dealt with who don't know who you are. You've also got warm prospects or visitors. So those are people that could have come into your metaphorical shop. They could have inquired, they could have asked for a price, you could have done a proposal, and it really depends on the kind of business you are, whether you're a firm of solicitors or whether you're a shop or you're an online business, whatever you might be. There are also leads that went cold. So somebody inquired, you gave them a price. But the thing is, they know who you are. And it's so important to remember that you need to talk to these people in a way that is appropriate to them. So companies that want to buy but just not yet, there are lots of businesses, and we're the same. We have people who've inquired about our services, and maybe sometime soon they're going to buy from us. But hey, let's not forget them. Then I've got a couple of other groups, for example, strategic partners. So accountants and solicitors usually work closely together, and any accountant knows a bunch of solicitors and vice versa. We work with a lot of data partners, as in people that we buy email marketing data from. There are also influencers, and those are people that exist in a similar marketplace to you, but don't actually compete with you. And there are so many examples of this, and there are some businesses who run their entire new business strategy around the influencers or the people that can influence the decision of others. So it's so important to remember that sending a newsletter out to everybody on your database is just the kind of easy way around, and it doesn't really reflect the kinds of people that you should be in communication with in a way that's appropriate to them. It's important to remember that if you're going to talk to an architect or an accountant in your new business, because those are the kind of people you want to work with, you need to remember that accountants or architects, they have a practice or a firm. They don't refer to themselves as a business. And maybe if you're going to talk to a human resources director, you need to talk to that person who's in a big company in a different way to maybe a small business, a smaller business with a managing director or chief exec. Now, B2C, age and gender, likes, dislikes, they're all really, really important. And also remember that there are business verticals. We all communicate with different business verticals, especially in a business-to-business environment. And we need to remember that if you're going to talk to accountants or you're going to talk to builders or any particular group of businesses, it really pays to think about how are we going to communicate with them differently rather than sending out a newsletter, because newsletters, well, they don't really work anymore. Now, generally speaking, we're talking to people on a prospecting basis. We're looking for new business opportunities, and we're looking to talk to new people. And we also want to remember that we want to stay in touch with our customers. So, for example, if you're a hotel, somebody's come and had a meal or stayed the night or had a holiday, they've had a good experience, but hey, you need to stay in touch with those people, and again, because you'd like them to come and buy again. It really is important to remember who's in our landscape and who are those people that we want to stay in touch with. So we know that we need to segregate and understand our business, the opportunities that are in front of us. We need to segregate our marketplace. But what works best in email land, as I refer to it? Now, I bumped into a client recently, a new client, who said to me, Nick, really like what you're talking about. I like the way you want to do this work for us, but we really want our emails to really stand out and be different from everybody else's so that people see our emails first. Now, that's an interesting place because unlike, for example, an exhibition stand, where the exhibition stand needs to be big and sexy and needs to show your brand off in the best possible way, you need to spend as much as you possibly can on an exhibition stand so you look fantastic. We're sending out emails often to people who aren't expecting to receive an email from us and don't necessarily want to buy our product. So we have to think pretty hard about how can we get our emails in front of people in a way that they like. Now, we had another challenge recently where a client that we work for, a high-tech prototyping business who produce all sorts of really attractive products for Hugo Boss and for a whole load of medical companies, And what they're doing, and they also do a whole lot of prototyping for big vehicle manufacturers, for the likes of BMW and so on. And so what they're doing is they're producing maybe 5 or 6 consoles or things like that, where they just need to do exactly what the product does, but just for research development, for testing. And they challenged us to say, well, we want to show photographs of all our products, and we want to show people what we do. So we were pushed into a situation where we had a database of about 4,500, 5,000 people that they'd built themselves, and we split test. And in email land, you'll hear an awful lot, or you do it yourselves already. You do a lot of split testing to see what's most effective. And so we split the data down the middle, about 2,500 each, and we sent the emails out. One set of emails was text only, as we'd written, with links in it. And we then designed another email, which was an HTML email, which looked very much like their website. So what happened? So we sent out, if you can see on this little chart here, we sent out 4,872 emails. We got similar open rates, which you'd expect from with the same subject line. But interestingly, as you'll notice on the bottom right, we got 160 clicks that came through to their website. 41 of those clicks were generated by the picture email, and 136 were generated by the text-only email. And the important thing here is to recognize that when you receive emails into your inbox at work, like you'll do after this webinar, any email that's got a whole lot of pictures on it, images that don't load, you know somebody's about to try and sell something to you, and you automatically switch off and delete it, or just ignore it until they send you another one and you ignore it again. So there's a really, really important, and it really is the crux of email marketing. You have to do things in a way that isn't necessarily easy for you, but something that engages with the customer. And it comes back to that marketing acronym. You have to attract their attention. You have to generate some interest and desire. And you need to give them a call to action. And I suppose what that boils down to is you have to give them something that they want, not necessarily what you want to say. And I know it's a real cliche, and I go on about it, but it is never about you. It is about your customers. And we have a saying here at Essentia Mail, when we're looking at emails and we're checking them and we're doing quality checks and so on, we adopt a so what policy. We look at an email, and if we just say, so what, it's not going to do the trick, we'll rewrite it and we'll start again. It's such an important point. So I've got some examples for you of where things kind of go wrong. And I haven't picked on these for any other reason other than they've landed in my inbox. So here's an email from a company called Enable, and hey, they're telling us that they're going to move offices and they're out with the old, in with the new. It's all about them. There's nothing in it for me. Go back to the cheese, go back to the Specsavers. No proposition that I'm interested in. And then an email, some employment company, and please, if you work for or know these companies, I'm only picking on them because they've landed in my inbox. So these guys are telling me that they've got a new newsletter, and they're sending it to me. Bizarrely, they attached it as a PDF document, which wasn't a great thing to do. So again, remembering it's never about you. Now, this company is a marketing company down in the southwest somewhere, and at the top of the email, of course, it says, we've emailed you because you're part of a networking group, or you're a company, or you're a customer. It's lazy. It's just lazy. And if you can read it on your screens, but they've had a very busy summer, and eventually we found time to move into our new offices. It really, really isn't interesting to anybody other than them. And it certainly won't engender any kind of positive feelings, especially when this email is going out to people they haven't worked with and they don't necessarily know. So the thing is, I think we've only got one more of these. The thing is that emails have to, and this is what's so important, they have to be appropriate to the people we're writing to. And again, I'll touch on in terms of segregating the marketplace business verticals, as well as thinking about your customer landscape, whether they're warm people or they're cold people that don't know who you are. Pertinent, they need to give information. And we find that one of the best ways to engage with an email, especially in the business-to-business environment, is to send people to an online asset, onto your website or the website that you're representing, to a blog or some interesting information. Some, perhaps one of the reasons you guys are here this morning is you'd like to see what I've got to say about email marketing. I'm going to give you some information. So The other thing that's really important is emails with images. Now, if I just take a step back, I don't know if you can see it in these. Sorry, I've gone the wrong way. If I just take a step back to this, no, you can't see it here. One of the important points is that in that database for the design company, there were 206 references to a particular vehicle manufacturer, in fact, JCB. We sent out 206 emails, one with pictures, one without. The one with pictures, 103 bounced, as in exactly all of them bounced, because the firewall at JCB said, hey, I'm not letting this through. Out of the 103 that were text only, 8 of them bounced. So, it's the writing's on the wall for things that don't look right. And I think the essence here, especially business to business, is that if text only emails with good subject lines, and I'll come on to that in a minute, are far more likely to be delivered. So it really boils down to that whole thing around content. So I'm going to do a little bit of anatomy now, and you can read this for yourselves. But this is an example of an email, and again, this is a few years old now, but it's still as relevant now as it was then. That emails written to real people, coming from real people, delivered at a time, as you'll see, delivered at 10:47 in the morning. And generally speaking, we say broadcast business to business, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, maybe Monday as well sometimes, because Friday afternoon not as effective, Friday is never as effective. And you'll notice that the email, this particular company, a client of ours, is a training company. You'll notice that the email doesn't start off with "we are a firm of." It touches on what I come on to in a sec. It touches on the pain of the recipient. Now, business to business, most of the services that we offer, if we didn't need to buy them, we wouldn't need to deal with an accountant or a solicitor. We wouldn't need to buy safety footwear. We wouldn't have computer issues and all the kinds of issues that we might have at work. So if we can touch on their pain, then we stand a better chance of engaging. So this is a really short email, as you can see. The shorter, the better. A pertinent subject line, make your training more effective. I'll come on to subject lines a bit later on. It has a simple call to action. It has an elegant footer. It's from a real person. So those kinds of mistakes of no reply, you get emails. We all get emails from companies, big corporates usually, phone companies and so on. They'll send you a message and you can't reply to it. Now, if I'm going to get an email from somebody and they want to sell me something, well, hell, it's got to be from a real person, hasn't it? And I need to be able to click reply, because otherwise it just doesn't work. Now, also, emails shouldn't come from the marketing department, because we don't want to tell people that we're trying to sell them things or we're trying to engage with them. So the important thing here is to remember that we are consumers. We are all consumers, because you guys know exactly what turns you off in the morning when you look at your emails all through the day. Anybody that's arrogant, anybody that's trying to sell you something, anybody that starts with "we are a firm of" is never, ever going to work in a way that you would like it to. So I'm just going to touch on the pain thing, because whenever we write email content, whether for consumer or for business, we have to think, what would the client like? What would the recipient of this email like? What could we tell them? So where's the pain? So a website company, I don't get enough traffic to my website. Sorry, any of you guys, I don't get enough traffic to my website. You may have a slow running computer. We're working all the hours and still losing money. We've got some training issues. We need better office chairs. How are we going to sack him or her? As in, we all have these issues at some point in our business lives. There must be a decent builder. I've noticed we spend too much on legal services. How come our website doesn't convert traffic into business? It's a kind of perennial problem. There are perennial problems that, as businesses, at some point we all suffer. So it's a useful thing to start, that when you're going to deliver email content to a client, think about what would they like. So if it's a hotel or it's a consumer product, well, especially with consumers, if you know what somebody's bought, then there's a good chance they might like something similar to that, or they may like another one. Somebody in a hotel might like a Kids Go Free, or they may like something around that hotel because they've had a good experience there. So do think about what you could attract somebody with, and recognized, like yourselves, when you're consumers, anybody that tells you about themselves and says how good we are and we care for our customers, all those cliche lines are just like they're a turn off to me and probably to you. They're a turn off to your clients when you, or your customers, your potential customers, when you write to them and you tell them we're great at what we do. So that's a pretty useful thing to know if when you're writing email content or you're thinking about an email marketing campaign. I'm just going to touch on subject lines because subject lines are really, really important. And I think one of the most important things here, I'm sure you're probably all reading those now, is to manage the expectations. As in, whatever your subject line, you need to be able to deliver something to do with that, something realistic, not to piss people off. So if you're going to win a free iPad, well, the reality is that's a pretty hackneyed line now, I know, but a lot of people will use that as an exhibition to collect business cards, win a free iPad. Now, it's a pretty easy thing to chuck a business card into a box, but think about your subject lines. Now, these subject lines are the ones that I received to the emails that preceded this slide, a few slides back. So, Hodder's Law, Firm of Solicitors, ESS newsletter, Safety Matters, Winter 2013. Omni Media have rebranded, and welcome to our newsletter. They're all pretty familiar, and I'm sure you've all seen things like it. So what I'm asking, have a think about what you're trying to do and who you're trying to talk to, and especially if you know exactly who you're communicating to. So these are some emails that we've done. So these subject lines have all been used recently for us, and they've got some good open rates, and they've got some good clicks as well because the email was good that followed it. Culture of exclusion, who's guilty, was a training to HR directors. Youth brands, stand still or die. That related to a marketing company. Recruitment without recruitment freeze. Well, that's pretty self-explanatory. Is your top talent about to jump ship? So again, in a training environment. And then show off your prowess with Phil. Now, interestingly, this was for a video company. So think hard about what your subject lines are going to be, and I suppose I'm saying to you, if you're not, ask other people and ask a good writer or something to think about how can I attract somebody's attention and deliver something realistic. I do remember when I first started seeing email subject lines that included my name in it, and I thought that was a pretty cool idea at first, but it only lasted a couple of days because I thought, no, this is just too far. This is a bridge too far. It has to be pertinent. It has to be relevant. If it's built, so it has to have some intrigue, but if it has too much, if it's too meaningless, then you may get good click-throughs, but your engagement is going to be poor because the people that are clicking through aren't really recognizing that this is an email for them. Okay, so I'm just going to show you some examples now. There are emails that we've sent out for our clients. Now, email layout, if I go back to the anatomy slide, is pretty much what we do business to business. Where we're selling, I'll show you some examples, where we're selling products or products which are tangible or people things like. So we work for a hotel in Bristol, a boutique hotel, and we do show images there. And it's an interesting mix between selling to business and business to consumer as well. We also work for an office furniture company, and the key with that for us is that we show particular products that are good value or particularly cheap. You'll see in a sec. The layouts for some of these look a bit messy because you'll see the result of what we've sent out, and it's been sent back to us, so it's been forwarded, but let's see how we go. So this is a short email for a website company. There are so many website companies, from guys that will build a website for 99 quid and those that won't get out of bed for less than 25 grand. So how do you actually attract any attention if you're a website business? Well, where's the pain? The pain is simple. If you're driving traffic to your website, yet you're not getting enough sales that you would expect, getting the sales you would expect, it would be good to know why. As I said before, it's a problem that I think we all have. We would all like more traffic, and we would all like that traffic to convert into sales. The result from that, again, from a local marketing company, I seldom respond to the plethora of emails we get from web agencies offering their service. I commend you on yours. So it's grabbed somebody's attention and it's got a response. Now, this is one that we did for a training company, and it's got a damn cheeky headline in it. So we're talking to SMEs, larger SMEs. We know that because That's how the data's been prepared. Perhaps it's you who's the weak link in your business. I recognize it's a cheeky line, and we've written to this guy. I'm hoping you've not already deleted this message. It's often a lonely place. So again, short, sweet, not about the company that we're working for, which in this case, Farscape Development, a learning and development business. And the response, well, punchy title, happy to meet with you. Daniela, can you please fix up a time in January? Now the interesting thing about this is that this particular campaign has been going on for a long time. We first sent an email to this guy in June 2011, and we've been emailing him now for some time. And at the back end of 2013, they started to talk with each other, and Farscape did a presentation to them, to a whole bunch of their people, only earlier this year. So it's really important to remember with any marketing at all that if you send out some contact and you keep in touch with people, the chances are they may not want to buy from you straight away. But if you carry on loving them and carry on nurturing that relationship, perhaps in time you're going to actually sell something to them. And it's a really important point that we send out stats to our clients immediately, or 24, 48 hours after we do a broadcast, which show the click-throughs and the engagement, opens, bounces, and all those analytics. But the important thing to remember is so often people will keep those emails and they will remember you. And if they remember you positively because you're not shouting at them with garish ads and telling them you're going to save them money and so on, but you touch on their needs and their pain, with a bit of luck, in time, they're going to engage. And we see it all the time. We promote our business through email marketing. And it's really great that we're just about to start working with a company who looked at a webinar that we did back at the beginning of 2013, and we started emailing them back into the year before. So love people, look after them. Remember, they may not want to buy from you straight away, but with a bit of luck, they're going to come back to you. This is just for an office furniture company, and again, pretty simple. It looks like an email that you might receive from anybody. It's pretty text-based. It does have an image in it, has a link in it back to the website, and we do about 60-70% of this guy's turnover for this company through the emails that we send out. And we send out big numbers. We send out about 800,000 a month for him. And what we're asking for our clients who are selling product is, you have to give me something. You have to give us something that's interesting. And people like to see a deal. Even if they're going to buy 100 of something, they want a deal and they want to make sure that they're buying competitively. And the world in which we live in digital marketing is incredibly competitive. And people are out there to screw you on price all the time. So you really, really have to have your finger on the pulse if you're selling product online. And it's got to be seen as an opportunity or a deal. Just saying that we sell something is just really, really not enough. So this is the hotel I mentioned before, this is just a pretty simple email, as you can see, and it's got a kids stay free at Berwick Lodge. So it has a simple proposition. Now, with this particular client, there's an interesting one here. Is that data acquisition is one of those places that we're all never good enough at, and we all want more and more people. So whatever you've got on your website, never have a form where you ask for people's email addresses, because it's just such a turn off, or you ask for information from them. But with this kind of marketing, you know who's clicked and you know who's looked at your website. So what we've done with this client is we've provided them with some little excuse me, with some little cards. And those cards sit around the hotel, and they offer a free meal for two, and there's a monthly draw. And through that simple little process, we collect email addresses, and we collect between 200 and 300 a month, and have been doing for some months. So we know who's come for leisure and who's come for business to this hotel. And two different databases. So anybody who's come for leisure, we'll send a business, we'll send an email around Kids Stay Free at Berwick Lodge. If it's business, then we want to tell them about conferencing facilities, and we want to recognize that HR managers and HR directors and events organizers might have it is a different proposition to Kids Stay Free. So again, targeting again is absolutely crucial here. These are a couple of examples also. This is a bit of a messy one, but this is from a video company. And the proposition, which starts, "Hello, Michael, would you like to be known as the font of all knowledge in your industry, create a great following, attract referrals, and increase business?" Now, this is a cold email to somebody that Skylark Media have never spoken to before. And this guy has said, "I totally agree, it's something I'd like to do. Is this a coincidence, or did someone ask you to email me?" Exclamation mark. This is no fix. This is a cold email from comparatively cheap email marketing data. The bottom line is, because we've done it the way we've done it, and we haven't said we're a video company, would you like to buy some video from us? We've just turned it around. And this guy has, whether they've done business, I don't know. But it's a great example of recognizing, put something in front of somebody that they're interested in, and there's a good chance they're going to buy from you. Now, this is another one from Skylark, and I think it's pretty much at the same time. January, no, it's not. It was back last year. The important thing here is that this email has been forwarded. So if there's a proposition that you have, or something interesting that you have, and it's presented in a nice way, if somebody else in the business thinks that it might be of use to somebody else, then it gets forwarded in the same way as our financial director may get an email that might be interesting to me, and she'll forward it to me. And this is a classic case of that here, as in, Neil, not sure if this may be of interest to you. And this guy, Neil Young, has written back to Joe because it's a personal email and because all the links work and so on. And they've got a meeting out of it. So it's a real win. Now, we can't do any more than that in terms of our role here as Essentia Mail, email marketing agency. We are creating the opportunities for a quality conversation or for a sale. That's what we do. Now, email marketing is not a silver bullet, and it can't generate all the business that you're ever going to need. But one thing, and it's really kind of one of my soapbox subjects, the email needs to do a few things. It needs to get somebody to click through to a website. It needs to get somebody to phone you up, click on a link and buy something, whether it might be shoes or clothes or office chairs, whatever it might be, garden furniture. It may be, because we know who's clicked, it may be the basis of building a database for telemarketing, because phoning up the people that click is a crucial element of to follow up. People walk into your shop. I use the term shop metaphorically, as in your online assets, your online business, and they'll have a little look around. Some of them will stay for a while, some of them will look at some other pages or a blog or a video or whatever it is. Well, you know, because the analytics will tell you that, you know they've done that. So it's so important then to remember, hey, I'm going to go back to that person and say, can I help you? Has our website answered all the questions you've got? Because people won't necessarily get everything they need because they're busy, and they may think, hey, I'm going to come back to that another time, and they don't. So very important. So my soapbox subject is that where are you going to land people from your emails, or what is the online assets that support the email that you've written and send out, as in what's the website look like? And it is absolutely crucial that you don't send people to home pages, you send them somewhere that's relevant to them. So if you're communicating with 30-year-old plus women, then land them in a place that's appropriate to them. If you're communicating to HR directors, or you're communicating to quantity surveyors, whatever it is, then make sure that the place that they land is relevant to them. Never ask somebody to go navigating around the home page of a website, because the bottom line is they won't, and the opportunity has then gone. Something else that is really important too is that if you're providing a service, if you're a lawyer, if you're an email marketing agency, if you're a new business agency, if you're providing a service and not product or commoditized, anything that's commoditized, then remember that people want to know who they're dealing with. And the evidence that we have says that over 30% of the visitors to a home page of a service offering will want to see who the team is, who's behind this company. And I know from myself that if I see somebody, or somebody recommends something, I want to know if this is a real company, if there are real people here, and what is the integrity that they have. And just like your LinkedIn profiles, people will come and have a look at you before they make a decision to go any further. So I've picked on this one to create. home page, and if you could probably work out that it's a website company. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. But sending traffic to this site, which is amazingly creative, yeah, I'm saying it tongue in cheek, and it is nice and colourful, but it doesn't actually give me any reason to buy from them. And in this particular marketplace, and I'm not picked on them for any reason. I did this a couple of days ago, and I chose this one because it just epitomizes how not to attract people to take that next step. So landing pages are absolutely key to engagement at whatever level. Now, if you think about when you're searching online, you go to see maybe a paid ad, you want to buy a trampoline, or you want to buy some binoculars, or you want to buy whatever it is. If somebody lands you on a home page, you're being asked to then do a load of navigation. Whereas if somebody is clever and lands you where you want to be, whether it's on a blog post or whether it's for a particular product, there's a good chance that you're going to engage, because the opportunities disappear really, really quickly. And something that I've noticed, especially with the remarketing, which are the little ads that appear on other people's websites, because of the cookie that downloads in your computer when you search for something, it's so important that you make that link between your company or the company you're promoting, so that with the customer comes back to you and stays with you. We've found that segregating into industry verticals really important, and we encourage our clients to produce good blog content which gives good advice. And it's something that is so important in terms of gaining that kind of recognition. And I think I would prefer not to work with a client, and we've got this in a couple of cases where the website's just not ready, the website isn't good enough, and all that's going to happen is they're going to say to us, hey, we've got all these people visiting our site, but none of them are buying it. And it's like, I've written a blog recently, a little while ago, don't shoot the messenger. We're sending all this traffic to your site, they're not converting. Don't look at us. You really need to have a look at it. So it's a soapbox subject of mine. It's so important. I'm just going to touch on a few other issues. I'm going to talk about delivery. As I explained before, email marketing is getting more and more difficult, and the likes of Google and other big providers of big ISPs make it more difficult. Firewalls get more sophisticated. Now, what is on our side with regards to email marketing is that if more of your emails get embargoed or go into a junk folder all the time, it makes it pretty difficult. You end up with two inboxes. So there's a kind of balance here. But with quality, with good data, and especially the issue around pictures, if you're attaching things to emails, not only are you using an awful lot of bandwidth, but it's less deliverable. So send people through links to online assets that you've created. So if you want to send a PDF out, or you want to send a video, then a tiny image of a video with a little link back to the website, or back to YouTube, or wherever you want to send it, is pretty important. Don't send people to YouTube, because they want to go to your site and view it within your site. Again, it's pretty important. I'll touch on footers. A good footer looks good and is important, but it does impede delivery to some extent. Excuse me. We do generally suggest that we do put email footers on, which are either embedded or linked back to an online asset where the logo is stored. But do think about how many attachments you're going to put, because all of these things add up to create a more spammy email. Now, reputation is really important here too, and reputation as in your email reputation, not the business that you work for. And it all boils down to doing things in the right way. So sending out lots of emails from as in use a proper email delivery platform. Don't send things out of Outlook, because that really doesn't work for you and your reputation. And yeah, it's true that the industry is rife with spam and cheap and nasty data, and it remains an issue to keep your email reputation as good as you can. Now, big numbers, I think we've learned a lesson since we started this business a few years ago, and I come from a marketing background as well. I ran an advertising agency. There's nothing wrong with going out to big numbers, but do remember that business to business needs to adhere to, in fact, you need to adhere to data protection which I'll come on to in a sec. The bottom line here is that it's perfectly all right to go out to big numbers, but you need to do it in a way that you stay under the radar and you're not just blasting out hundreds of thousands of emails. Because it will impact upon your reputation, and you will get blocked and you will get blacklisted, and it becomes a challenge then. We offer our clients the opportunity to go out from their own IPs and in fact from their own servers. And again, because quite often other people can sully your reputation on a particular IP, which is why some of the email marketing service providers, the MailChimps of this world, are very fussy about how you get your data. I'm just going to touch on opted-in because it's an interesting place. The email companies that sell data, or the cheap and nasty people, which I'll come on to at the end of this slide, that sell email data will always claim that it's opted in, double opted in, triple opted in, which I don't actually know what triple opted in means. But the whole thing about opted in is are you prepared to accept emails? Yes, I am. You email back. And that's pretty much how good email marketing works. However, the lesson, the issue here is that if you think about an email company selling email data, or if somebody phones you up and says, are you prepared to accept emails from anybody? Well, you're going to say, no, I'm not. Of course I'm not. So there are very, very few genuinely opted-in lists. So, and generally speaking, you can't buy those. So a magazine may have an opted-in list, as in people who subscribe to that magazine also subscribe to a digital version of it. So please be careful whenever you're buying email data. Just remember, just because somebody says it's opted in, it probably isn't. And nobody's going to get into trouble because nobody's going to find out. To touch on spam counts, there are lots of things that contribute to whether an email has a high spam count, and it has to do with your reputation as well. So it isn't just about having free football tickets or free champagne in the subject line. And there are a bunch of spammy words. And so quite often you can find that your email count's pretty low in terms of using an online spam count. But because your reputation is sullied, the spam count dramatically increases and the deliverability of your email is extremely poor. The other thing to remember is that your email data degrades at least 30% per annum. So a list that you buy is already badly out of date because it's all historical. And as the year goes by, the numbers decrease. And if you don't look after, nurture, and love that list, what you're doing is you're sending out emails that aren't deliverable. And people notice that within the industry, as in the Googles and the Yahoos and the people and the Hotmail brigade. They all notice what's going on, and you'll find that your emails become less and less and less deliverable. So the whole thing around email data integrity is absolutely key here. And whoever you get data from, or wherever you get it from, if you buy it from somebody down the pub or you get it cheap and cheerful, just remember it's worth just checking out the integrity of that data and actively cleaning it and cleaning it and cleaning it. There may well be spam traps within that, which are going to get you into trouble as well. But the key here is to recognize that the data that you bought last year, it's a good chance that half of it isn't deliverable anymore. So you may not have 10,000 contacts anymore. You may only have 5,000 that are actually going to generate any business for you. Now, on the basis of email integrity, this is an email I got not that long ago, actually, last year. And it looks pretty amazing, doesn't it? So Email UK data, 17 years experience. They buy huge amounts of triple opted-in data. That's where I got, I don't know what triple, I can't imagine what that means. But anyway, 1.8 million business-to-business triple opted-in UK records. That's 695. And then you can buy nearly 17 million consumer data, triple opted-in for 695. Now, this is just a scam. And I looked up Mail UK, I'm struggling to read it, mailukdata.com on a lookup in terms of, and that URL had existed for probably about a week or 2 weeks. You probably can't phone these people up and they haven't got a business address. But people fall into this trap all the time because this is on a 7-day offer and it expires on the 6th of November. So it looks too good to be true, and it is. Please, please be careful. Don't fall into this trap. And if you want to know how long a URL's existed, then go sign up. You don't have to sign up. Just go to Net Domains. And I think it's Net Domains. Can't remember and put in the URL, and it will tell you who owns it and how long when it was registered. And you'll usually find that on a lot of these scammy, spammy sites, like this one, the domain has existed for about a couple of weeks, if not less. And this company won't exist in a couple of months' time, but they'll have taken thousands of pounds off unsuspecting people. Now, what's the problem with this data? Well, I've seen databases like this, maybe 2 million strong, which are difficult to manage. And in one of them, I found that there was a wedding photographer in Cardiff, a one-man band or one-woman band wedding photographer, and there were 5,000 contacts for this wedding photographer with somebody had generated, through some clever technique in Excel probably, had generated a whole bunch of names that went in front of something wedding photographer in Cardiff. So if anything is going to screw your reputation, it's sending out to this data, because it is just full. And how do they get away with it? Well, because they don't exist. This company won't exist, and you'll never find out who they are. We've also had experiences where we've genuinely bought good email data, what we perceive to be good email data, only to find that it was stolen. So who you buy from is absolutely key here. I'll just be really, really careful about it. So just going to talk about a couple of other points here. And time is going on, I'm sorry. I just want to talk, so I've talked a little bit about spam, but there's a simple dichotomy here. If you're communicating with individuals, single partners in businesses, one-man bands, sole traders, you have to be opted in. The rules are very different around data protection. If you're talking to a business, then it is quite legitimate to email them with a relevant product or offering. So talked a little bit about how email data is any good. The best data is the data you collect from yourselves, from your customers, or those people that you can engage with. And I've talked a little bit about how we capture data for the hotel. And think about how you could capture data about people that are interested. The trouble with collecting business cards at an exhibition is that people just chuck in a business card in. It doesn't necessarily mean. Now, analytics and measurement, something right back to the beginning, really very important as well. Email marketing is measurable. It's probably one of the most measurable marketing channels, along with pay-per-click, as in Google AdWords, as in there's a direct relationship between what we do and what we get back. But do remember, as we remind our clients all the time, just because somebody hasn't bought today or tomorrow or went by tomorrow doesn't mean they haven't engaged with your business. And over time, you're just creating this pipeline opportunity. And I've seen it time and time again that, hey, 6 months down the line, a year down the line, we've received somebody comes back to us, we've just seen your email. Frequency and time, generally speaking, rule of thumb, business to business, we broadcast Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in the morning or just after lunch, in the morning after people have cleared their email backlog from the stuff that's arrived overnight. Trigger emails, again, is something that's important. If somebody downloads something or somebody's interested in something, just like when you buy something online and one of the online companies send you an email saying, thank you for your order will be delivered. Keep in touch, let people know that you've received an email and thank you for the download. Trigger emails are pretty easy to do, take a bit of managing, but they're very important. Perhaps one of the final questions is, where does email marketing fix into the marketing mix? Well, email marketing isn't the silver bullet. The rest of your assets, your marketing assets, need to be good too. You need to look good online. If you're selling a business where your personal integrity it can be drawn into question, then have a good LinkedIn profile. These things aren't difficult to do, and they're free mainly. It's really important that you just remember that your reputation is at stake here. So send people to good landing pages, and remember that how you then answer the phone if somebody phones up is as important in terms of email marketing as any other thing. It's like, it is, how do we look? How does our brand look to everybody that we're communicating with? So you do look good, do look as good as you possibly can. So that's pretty much it for this morning, and thank you for listening. And I just hope that I've given you something to think about, and I hope something that you can take away, and I've given you some help, or at least made you ponder. I've only really scraped the surface of a number of the parts of this, of what I've done today, what I talked about today. And I've also recognized that things. I've talked also about other things other than email marketing, because the whole thing around marketing generally and how your website looks is such an integral part of making this work. And I just hope that I've given you some thoughts that will help you. So thanks very much for listening. Um, I haven't managed to answer any questions at all. I'm sorry. If you'd like to speak to me separately, then please, I'll stay on the line a little bit longer if you want to ask any questions. Um, After this webinar, when I switch the webinar off, there will be a short online questionnaire. I would just really appreciate if you just help us to do a better job just by filling that in. That would be fantastic. So once again, thank you very much for listening this morning. We'll be running other webinars and also webinars where we'll have some guest speakers around other marketing channels and other marketing issues. I think social media is the next one that we're going to be doing, but we'll keep in touch with you and let you know. Once again, thank you very much for listening this morning.